Hey, Omnibus Collectors, what's up? It's Riley. I'm back with my June 2018 haul. I know this is a little bit late, about a week later than I was wanting to make this video, but I got caught up going out of town for my birthday at the beginning of July and stuff like that. But anyway, here's my first part of my June haul. This is going to be for my manga that I bought in June of 2018, and then I'll do my Western comics afterwards. Just note, I tried to make this video about 3 times already with different cameras, and none of them were working, so hopefully this one works out. I'm using my better quality camera. It takes a little bit more time for me to load it, but it'll look a lot nicer. The picture quality should obviously be good, but I'm going to be doing everything kind of without showing my face. Hopefully the sound quality is good, because my mic ran out of batteries and I didn't want to go out and buy new ones. So anyway, without further ado, starting off my manga haul, I've got a small stack of books here. These are the few new release volumes that I got in June. So these are books that came out in June, I bought in June, and I read last month, except for one of these. First up, My Hero Academia Volume 13. This is Volume 13 of the ongoing series, probably the most popular shonen manga series at the moment. If you've been under a rock or just sleeping for the past year or something and have not seen this book or the anime around, essentially the idea is it's a manga take on superheroes, and you get a school that trains these young people with powers to use those abilities so that they can become superheroes. And you see not only these young heroes, but a lot of pros and older characters, as well as they fight off against villains and try to train the new generation. So really fun series, fantastic. I've absolutely loved it with every passing volume. I highly recommend it, but I'm not the first to say that by far. Next, I've got Promised Neverland Volume 4. This is another really great series. Doesn't get talked about as much, but there are a lot of people out there saying how nice it is. Really great artwork, great storytelling with intriguing characters, twists in every single volume, oftentimes stuff happening that I just don't expect. Just to give a look, since this one's not quite as popular, at the interior artwork. Don't let the fact that the main characters are a trio of like 10-year-olds give you a false impression. This does get really dark and pretty mature, so I know that Omar from Near Mint Condition, who also works with me on the Omnibros live channel, I think he was the one that showed it to his kids, and they were like, I don't think we're supposed to be reading this. So it is a little bit more mature, and even though it's Neverland, it has nothing to do with Peter Pan. Anyway, moving on, the next one, this is the one I haven't read. This is Battle Angel Aleta Mars Chronicle Volume 3, third volume of this ongoing prequel to the original Battle Angel Aleta series. I haven't read any of this series yet because I am waiting until I get all of the hardcovers for the classic series that are currently being released by Kodansha, and then I'm going to read through those and then read this because I'm worried that even though it's a prequel, there might be some spoilers for things in the original series, so I'm just being careful there. And then finally, for the new books, Golden Kamui Volume 5. This is a fantastic series. I bought the first 4 last in May, and I talked about them in my last haul video. Really amazing series with great artwork, fun storytelling as well. If you are a fan of Rurouni Kenshin or like historic fiction series, this is definitely a book that you'd want to check out. It kind of takes place in the same time period as Rurouni Kenshin. Just a look at some of the interior. There's a lot of focus on food and stuff in this book, but yeah, it takes place kind of in the same time period as Rurouni Kenshin, and there's even mention of, like, the Shinsengumi takes a big role in here, and there's a name, they call out, what's his name, Saito, by name in this series. So yeah, if you're a fan of Kenshin, I'd recommend checking this one out. It's basically, the idea is, this is not the main character, but the main character is a dude who's said to be immortal. He's trying to track down these skins that are on a bunch of people that were in a prison. The skins together form a big map that show you where the big treasure of gold is. And so this follows his adventures along with a young girl as they go through the Japanese wilderness and through Japan looking for these people so they can collect their skins and get the map. So it's a little bit morbid, but it's really awesome. It has great artwork, like I mentioned, and a really intriguing storyline. There's also a lot of focus on food and stuff because it, I'm just grabbing the next stack, but it kind of looks at the Ainu people, which are like native to, I believe, Hokkaido, like the northern region of Japan, who I've never seen in anything before. So that was really cool to kind of see focus on them, and it shows like how they use animals for food and goods and stuff like that. Anyway, moving on. This is like a bunch of random volumes that I grabbed last month, mostly gap fillers. The first one here is Helsing Volume 9. I hope she doesn't mind me calling her out by name, but Molly Foley, who is in the Otaku's Den and Omnibus Collector Facebook groups, found this out-of-print volume for me. This was the last volume of Helsing that I needed. I had read the series back when it was originally being published, absolutely loved it, but for some reason never bought 9 and 10. So she found a copy for undercover for me, and even after shipping it, I think it was still undercover. So that was really awesome. Thank you so much for finding that. I've been looking for that for a little while now. Next, these are all kind of, the next several are random books, just gap fillers that I bought from Better World Books, and now I know a lot of people are like, oh, Better World Books. So Naruto Volume 71, I got 1 through 69 not long ago in a big lot, so I just needed to get the last 3. Better World Books had 71, but not 70 or 72, so I grabbed that. So Better World Books, typically, they sell former library copies, and usually, and I'll go back to Naruto, usually they're in good condition like this. You know, there's not anything wrong with these books. They just usually have a bunch of stickers all over them. And the back cover's a little folded, but for, as cheap as they are, they're in good quality, and I really don't mind it. So anyway, usually people will be like, oh, if you order from Better World Books, and you order like one book from them, they'll ship it in like a plastic kind of wrap thing that is conducive to your books getting damaged, so that's not good. But if you order a lot of them, like I did, I ordered 15 of them, they'll come in an actual box with packing material, so shipping did not cause any damage. Now, a couple of the books that I got, like Excel Saga 25, were a little worse for wear. The spine, I kind of just taped it in, but it was torn right there on the corner. You can kind of see, and it has some creases on the cover, but and then another one there. But for all intents and purposes, for like a few dollars, this is a great copy of this book. And Excel Saga, this is a series that I've been needing to just buy the last 7 volumes or so. So they had one random volume of that, so I grabbed that. Anyway, they'll come in and they will have commonly, here's the next one, Bleach 61, a bunch of stickers on the spine and all that stuff. And all I did is I grabbed some of this Goo Gone and a paper towel, and I just rubbed the shit out of that, and it takes away those stickers and the adhesive really well. These books had stickers all over them, and now like there's, I mean, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's no like adhesive residue that my fingers are catching on. So I'm pretty satisfied with these purchases. This, for all intents and purposes, this book looks new. So anyway, Bleach, I absolutely love this series. I know it gets a lot of flack. I'll probably do a big video about why I love Bleach in the future, but I kind of fell behind on buying the physical releases of the series, and this is just the few volumes that I grabbed. I grabbed like a handful of them that I needed that were on Better World Books. So 61, 62, 65, 68, and yeah, like I said, these are all in great condition. This is a little bit of leftover adhesive residue, but I can just get that off real easily. 69, and that is all for the Bleach volumes that I grabbed from them. I still need like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 volumes. Volume 23 just came out at the beginning of July, and then 24 I think is due out, 74 is due out at the end of, or sometime at the beginning of October, and that'll be the end of the series. That's the last volume. So I'm looking to, I bought 73 and I'm looking to buy 74 when it comes out as well, and I'm looking to get those last like 6 books or whatever that I need before 74 comes out. Anyway, so next I've got Cells at Work. Now this, I think the anime just recently started. There might be an episode or 2 out at the moment, but I had never heard of it before until I saw the trailer for the anime, and I thought, wow, that looks just ridiculous, and that is the dumbest title that I've ever seen. But a lot of people talked about, like, actually it's really good, and about how, like, it's, you know, pretty funny, it's, you know, got really good characters, and the artwork looks phenomenal. So went on eBay, I found the first 2 volumes for a really, really good price, purchased those. I haven't gotten to read them yet, but I'm really excited because I don't know, in my opinion, that this art just looks really, really cool. Really well drawn characters. The idea behind it, I know I kind of just skipped over. Cells at Work, because it's about red blood cell, white blood cell, different types of cells inside of the human body, and they're fighting against, you can see on the back there's like a little virus, it looks like a little monster demon thing, and that's what they're fighting against. This is just, you know, kind of story about those cells doing their work. So I think volume 5 is the latest one that's available in the US. I haven't read these 2 like I mentioned, but I'm sure I'm going to enjoy them, and if I do, I'll probably, in my next haul, wind up having the next 3 volumes. Anyway, moving on, next is... So I only pulled out 2 volumes of this series because it's rough for me to get these off of my shelf. Let me show y'all real quick what I mean. I'm just going to move my camera. So I have... everything's kind of stacked here, and you can see Shaman King there, and you can see it over there as well. So I wound up, before last month, I had only the first, excuse me while I put this back in place, I had only the first half of the series, and so I went ahead and bought the second half in the month of June. So I chose to pull these 2 volumes out in particular because I wanted to note that out of all the books that, at least the second half that I was buying in June, these were the only 2 that are like harder to find. If you look on eBay or Amazon, both 15 and 26 go for very high prices above cover, but, and I don't know how available they still are, but these books are still were still available at least on in-stock trades, and that's where I bought these. I bought, out of the second half of the series, I bought probably half of those that I needed from Better World Books, so they came in, you know, former library copies that were in nice condition, except one had some cover damage. And then the other half, including these 2 that were not available on eBay, I had to buy on in-stock trades, so they all came in pristine condition, of course. Now, if you're not familiar with the series, this was published in Shonen Jump magazine in the US. It was one of the starting series there, back when it started in like 03 or 04. The series focuses on Yo Asakura. He's a young shaman in Japan. Shaman are the focus of this series, kind of like, you know, ninja in Naruto or pirates in One Piece. And Yo is supposed to be fighting to be the next Shaman King. So the whole series, there's a big focus on this big shaman battle where different shaman from, how many times am I going to say shaman? Take a shot every time. From all around the world, from different countries, are coming to face off against each other to see who's going to be the new king. So that's kind of the gist of the series. Pretty typical shonen stuff, but I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a lot of fun. It has fun artwork, really interesting characters from around the world. And I found out that Kodansha now has the publishing rights to the series, so I figured, hey, a couple of these volumes are already hard to find. Kodansha has the publishing rights. I need to just jump on it and get the rest of the series before they all become hard to find. And I don't know if Kodansha plans on actually reprinting it. They might just release it digitally like they recently did for Beck, where they only, like, instead of doing physical releases, they're like, hey, let's just do digital and let people read it that way. So I was worried that that might happen, didn't want to get caught with my pants down, basically, so I went ahead and got the second half of the series, and I'm super excited to have it all. I really did enjoy this book as I was originally reading it. glad to have it on the shelves now. Anyway, next, this is a larger stack, one of four more larger stacks of books of a single series that I picked up. This one, I've read the first 4 volumes, and that is Food Wars, and I owned the first 1 through 12, and I really loved the first 4 volumes, and I had sold a bunch of things, a bunch of other books, and I was like, I really just want to have all of Food Wars, because 24 had come out, and I was like, I want it to be here so I can just read it at my own pace. And I still haven't read everything, but I bought 13 through 24. I'm excited to read this. I really enjoyed that, those first 4 volumes. It has really nice artwork. It's, you know, as it suggests, it focuses on food and cooking. The main characters are in a kind of a school for cooking. At least that's how it is at the very beginning of the series. So you get introduced to a lot of different competitions between different people as they cook with different styles, and as the students learn how to cook with different styles and stuff like that. So it's really fun art. It's kind of hilarious at times because it takes those shonen tropes and applies them to a cooking series. And I know it's not the first cooking series ever. You know, there's Iron Wok Jan and like Yakitate Japan, just to name a couple of them. But I don't think either of those reached the popularity that Food Wars has, because this series is like one of the, you know, top most popular titles in Japan at the moment. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited to catch up and read all of these. Really fantastic looking book. It does have a good amount of fan service, at least in the early volumes, and that kind of slowed me down from reading because, just being frank about it, I read usually in bed next to my wife, and if she sees that, she's like, "What the fuck are you reading, Riley?" So, that kind of slowed me down from catching up and reading, but after the first few volumes, there's a lot less of that. It's not quite as prevalent as far as I've seen, and what people have actually told me too. And there's the most recent volume, volume 24. Alrighty, and then next, here's a smaller stack of this series. I bought the first 3 volumes in May, so I finished it off in June, and I finished reading it in July, and that's Goodnight Poon Poon. Now, I'm not going to really say much about this series outside of the fact that I have a lot of feelings about it, and I really enjoyed it, because it's a series that warrants to be talked about in depth. There are 7 volumes in America that comprise the original 13-volume series from Japan, written and illustrated by Inio Asano. It follows the main character, Poon Poon Punyama, or later Poon Poon Onodera, in his kind of everyday life from starting at his childhood and going into his early adulthood by the end of the series. It's a very hard look at just life in general. So yeah, I don't want to say much more. It really requires a lot of words and a lot of thinking to think about or to talk about this book. So I do want to make a review book specifically for Goodnight Poon Poon. Here's the 7th and final volume. Next, this one I also haven't gotten around to reading yet, but I bought this series because I've heard a lot of good things about Vinland Saga, and B, because I'm a big fan of the creator Makoto Yukimura's previous, maybe not previous series, but one of his or her, I'm not sure the gender of the creator, one of their previous titles, Planets, how do you pronounce it? I read that back when it first was published by Tokyopop in the US, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I thought it was a fantastic story with amazing characters and great artwork. So I found out that it was the same creator that did that does Vinland Saga, and I heard nothing but really good things. I heard people say, if you're a fan of Berserk, then read this, and I got into Berserk last year, so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to get it. So I found the first volume for really cheap a few months back, and then I, last month, found volumes 2 through 7, and I'll run through those real quick and just show the covers and stuff, for decent prices, and now I just need to get 8, 9, and 10 to catch up. And I will hopefully be reading this one in the near future, probably going back and forth with this and another longer series that I need to catch up with. I've got a lot to read now. I really like having a lot in front of me to read rather than being like, oh no, I've got nothing else to read. What am I supposed to do? I just have to buy something and wait for it to come in. I don't know. I'm kind of weird like that. I know it's not the best mentality, but that's how I am. Here's volume 5. Now each of these are really nice thick hardcovers that actually collect 2 of the original paperback editions as they were released in Japan. In America we don't have those paperbacks, they just went straight to these double-sized hardcovers. So right now we have 1 through 10, which collects volumes 1 through 20 of the original Japanese release. Here's volume 7, the most recent one that I own right now. We're more or less caught up with the Japanese release at this point, so that's why it takes a decent amount of time between each volume for those to be released in the US, because we're just waiting on those chapters to be published and those original paperbacks to be published in Japan. But anyway, like I said, looking forward to reading that. Big fan of the creator. This next stack, this is a little bit different. This is a series that I used to watch the anime when it was on Fox when I was younger. That's Ultimate Muscle. Now, I used to watch the anime, and I actually went back and rewatched it recently, and it's just so stupid and ridiculous and fun that I was like, man, I really want to read this. Unfortunately, it's not the easiest book to find anymore. Several of the volumes have gone out of print and become super expensive. I mean, the whole series is pretty much out of print, but they've become hard to find and super expensive. But I was lucky enough, and I'll move the camera for a second, not too long ago, to find someone selling the first, 9 volumes minus volume 7, which is one of the rarer ones, for $50. And then I found someone selling this whole stack that I'm about to go through. And then a few of these were also from Amazon for, way under cover price. So now I own almost the whole series, and here's volume 10. Lacking just 3 volumes, one of which I can get for super duper cheap, like $5, and the other 2 of which are expensive. Volume 7, which is I've seen it go for 200 plus, I think, or as low as $100. And then volume 13, which I've seen go for about $30 to $40, so not quite as rare. But yeah, eventually, hopefully, I will be able to get those. Anyway, the series, if you're not familiar, is it follows. So this is not the original. You see, it's Ultimate Muscle Kinnikuman Legacy. So the original Kinnikuman series was never published in the U.S., and it followed Kinnikuman, or Muscle Man, on his kind of comedic adventures as this masked wrestling superhero dude that was part of a crew with a bunch of other masked wrestling superhero dudes, and they fight against bad aliens and bad wrestlers and all that stuff. It's kind of a superhero series, but it's mostly about wrestling. So the series is pretty much all made up of just wrestling tournaments with the various heroes facing against the various villains. It's very much a comedy series. It's got ridiculous characters in there doing ridiculous things. A lot of toilet humor, which easily entertains me. I'm very immature in that matter. But yeah, I started collecting this, and my plan was originally just to buy them one at a time if I found it at a half-price bookstore or something like that. And then when I saw these deals with them going for super cheap, I was like, okay, let me just grab those instead. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to read this, because the anime never went through the entirety of the second series, which this series, the second one, follows Kid Muscle, which is Muscle Man's son. And then there are other series that follow it, but this is the only one that made it to the States. Now, before the anime was on Fox back in the day, in the early 2000s or something, older readers might remember, the previous generation from me, or people from probably born in the 80s, I want to say 70s or 80s, I don't remember when they were around, but the little muscle figurines, and it was muscle as an acronym, so M period, U period, S period, so on and so forth. Those were based on the original Kinnikuman series. So if you're familiar with those, if you've seen those around, and they've made those kind of little rubber figurines for different stuff, like Masters of the Universe recently I saw had some. That's where they come from. So those ridiculous little wrestling dudes, the little pink eraser-looking figurines, they come from Kinnikuman. Let's see, 25. So almost done with this stack. I know someone's gonna give me crap, like, why would you spend money on this dumb series? Like, it's nostalgia for me, and was supposed to be a long-term goal that I kind of sped up the process on. But I'm excited nonetheless to have it all here. It was a series that I meant to buy when it was originally coming out, and I actually had the first 2 volumes back when they originally were published, and then just my budget when I was in middle school and high school, I had to cut out a few different series, and this was one of them that unfortunately didn't make the cut. And now I'm pretty upset about it, because if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have this issue with these 2 out-of-print ones. And here's the last volume. Really awesome image of Kid Muscle with his midriff exposed. Yeah, I always look at that, I'm like, really? That's the book that we end, the image that we end the series on? Okay, cool. Anyway, so that is that, and then one last stack of books, and this one, I've never read this series before, though I'm familiar with the creator, and I've read one of his other works, one of his later works, about half of it. Really enjoyed it. I had a bunch of stuff up for trade on my Facebook group, and someone was like, hey, would you like to trade for this? And it was the first 9 volumes of this 2-in-1 full contact edition Tenjo Tenge by Oh Great. Now, Oh Great, I'm familiar with Air Gear. I read about the first half of Air Gear, really enjoyed it. It was a really fun action sports series with interesting characters and all that. And I never got to finish it, but I had known about Tenjo Tenge, and I'd heard about Tenjo Tenge, but I'd never read it. And when he offered that in trade, I was like, hell yeah, I'll go on that. That's like a really nice deal for me. So I'm excited to get to check this out, to see the series, and then I'm probably going to want to, after this, revisit Air Gear and finally finish that title, because I think the last volume was actually just recently published in the US. So anyway, originally this was a 22-volume series. It's collected across 11 2-in-1 signature-sized paperbacks with a cover price of $17.99 each. I believe that they're all still available and in print, so if you're interested in them, it's not too difficult to get them. Now, one thing I did want to note about these books, and not the story or the books themselves, but these copies that I got, and I don't want to call anyone out, but I thought I'd mention this because I have some advice if you fall into this situation. They came to me, and I don't know if it was the guy that I traded with or someone that might have owned them before. They came to me smelling like smoke, like they smelled like someone who smokes menthols was blowing their cigarette smoke into these books. And that really turned me off, because I'm not a smoker, and I don't mind if you are. I just don't like the smell on my books, because it, you know, is really distracting and a little bit nauseating at times. So what I was able to do, I looked up some solutions, and I found one that really worked for me, and I wanted to share that with y'all, just in case you have this issue. I took each book, and I took dryer sheets, like regular old dryer sheets that you use on your clothes, and I opened each book, and I shoved the sheets kind of in between the pages and stuff. I used like one sheet per book, and I would fold it in so it's like one end here, one end here. And then I took all 9 of these books, one dryer sheet shoved into each book, and I put them, stacked them up, and wrapped them up in a trash bag really tight so that the air would stay in there. And now I left these 9 books in the trash bag for probably about 5 days before well, that's all my haul, and now I'm just going to be talking. I'll just pull these back out. So I left them for about 5 days before I started to pull them out. And I pulled them out, and it definitely smelled less like smoke and more like dryer sheet, but the odor was still there. So I wrapped them up again, left them in the bag, and I probably didn't open them for another week and a half because I had gone out of town. When I opened them, I looked through them all, and I sniffed them all, and they smell now like old library books. Not even like that musty. They smell like a library book instead of like smoke, which is perfect for me. I don't mind that at all. So if you ever have that issue, if you ever have books that smell like smoke or have some sort of odor to them, that's my suggestion. Dryer sheets, put them somewhere airtight and secure, leave them there for a week or two. When you pull them out, they should smell good again. So that's my advice. I hope that someone gets some use out of that. It really helped me out because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to even read these books. They smelled so strongly. Anyway, all said, that's my haul for June of 2018. I'll be back with another video for my comics haul of 2018, of June 2018. And then next month I'll have further June, or my July haul. June and July are probably going to be bigger than later months as far as manga and comics go, because my birthday's at the beginning of July, and I had a bunch of extra, like, gift money that I spent between June and July. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon to show off other stuff, and you can, of course, catch me on Thursday nights on the Omnibros live show. I think that I'm doing one with them tonight. We might be talking about the Ant-Man movie. If you haven't already, check out the Facebook page, Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community, my Tumblr website, omnibuscollector.com, where I will very soon now be doing the 2018 now annual DC Most Wanted Omnibus haul, or Omnibus list, poll, sorry. And I'm trying to think of anything else I'm supposed to tell y'all. I think that's it. Yeah, so check, and if you have not done this yet, if you like the video, if you like to hear me talk about books, I hope that I'm giving good information about these things, especially when it's books that I've already read that I can actually talk about. Then please hit the subscribe button, and you will be notified whenever I release new videos, which hopefully now is about once or twice per month. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time.